Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Jenner Custom Toys Spectacular Halloween Special. I am your host, Dracula.
Carl, get the hell out of my room. What are you doing? Come on, man. You're gonna ruin everything.
Alright then.
Let's go.
It's just me, Carl. Sorry, Mr. Bruce.
You better be.
Alright then. Yeah. Alright, here I am, guys. Welcome to the channel with my Halloween special. Yay. Carl took the intro, so I was looking forward to that too. Oh well. What are we going to talk about today? How do you like my shirt? A Halloween shirt, because it's not quite Halloween yet, but I'm making a video tonight. Pretty much suits me. Tonight we're gonna talk about Halloween tonight, and a whole bunch of different things, some movies, and the way Halloween used to be as compared to today. Any Gen Xer is gonna love that, and what it means to me. Basically, this video is about what I think of Halloween, and I love Halloween. Halloween is my favorite holiday of the year. It allows me just to be funny, weird, and for that one night of the week, weirdness is accepted. So you could be the weirdest person in the world. If you go to a Halloween party or something like that dressed up, you get accepted. And I think that's awesome. That's why I look forward to it too much, because I am pretty weird, in case you haven't seen my other videos. So when you think of Halloween, what do you think of? First thing I think of is candy and trick-or-treating for the little ones. When I was a little kid, we used to go out trick-or-treating like anybody else did. But it was a lot different back then. Back then, almost all the neighbors would decorate for Halloween. They'd be out on their front porches. The adults would dress up. The kids would be running around. Kind of almost like you see in the movies when they do, how they run around, leave blowing on the road. Everybody's in the costume. Some are really good. Some are the real cheap ones. Going out door to door. We knew all the neighbors. We didn't have to worry about people putting razor blades in candy and stuff like that. And it was an innocent time and I'm talking about the 70s and 80s. That's whenever I grew up. I was born in 68, so 70s, that's definitely whenever I was trick-or-treating as a little kid. It was just a very close-knit neighborhood. It's a little town called Fort Allen, which is right near Greensburg, Pennsylvania. I live in North Huntington, Pennsylvania right now. North Huntington wasn't very far from Greensburg, so we come to North Huntington quite a bit. In fact, we came to church every Sunday here in North Huntington because this is where my parents grew up. Maybe that's kind of why I ended up here. I don't know. But North Huntington, it was always kind of it was different than Greensburg. Greensburg was more laid back, good people, North Huntington, Greensburg always thought North Huntington people were very snobby and kind of stuck up and, the Mr. and Mrs. Howell type. Kind of is, but that's why I don't fit in. So anyway, like I said, the trick-or-treat thing's the first thing I think of. And then there was costumes, of course. That's for more on what I'm doing now. I love dressing up for Halloween. My wife does too. We have a lot of friends that we do parties with. My wife, I used to DJ, and we used to have the most epic Halloween parties whenever I DJ'd for like 20-some years. And then I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I got old. I'm not that guy anymore. But I still enjoy dressing up and having fun, trying to win some Halloween costume contests. I was going to make this video about my previous costumes and just do a slideshow about costumes I've worn over the years, but then I realized no one's going to care about that. So we're going to talk about a little bit of the history of Halloween, and some new stuff, and hopefully it's going to be interesting. I actually have a script for this one, so if you see me keep looking down, I'm looking at my little flow chart. But the costumes, I love the costumes, and of course my number one thing about Halloween is the scary movies. Now, you might be thinking I'm talking about like the Michael Myers, Jason, and Freddy movies. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The scary movies I'm talking about would be like 1931 Dracula. I know it's not a scary movie per se by today's standards. But it was also the very first movie that was not a silent film back in 1931. It was the first talkie movie, which that's kind of cool. But if you look at the movie, if you take time to watch it, and imagine the people at the time, they're not used to the special effects and everything we have today. It probably terrified them. I know it terrified them. I've read all about it. I've watched the movie. I can appreciate the history of the movie. And a guy like this, back then, pretty much started our way of thinking about Halloween costumes today. And after that, there was Frankenstein, which came out in the same year as Dracula did. In fact, Bela Lugosi, who played Dracula, Blackula, that's a whole other movie. Bela Lugosi, who played Dracula, was offered the part first for Frankenstein in the same year, but he didn't want to do it because he didn't want to wear all the makeup, because he was a method actor and he wanted to be able to use his expressions and everything. So Boris Karloff, behind me, and I'm sure you all know what he looks like by now, Boris Karloff took the part, and I'll tell you what, he rocked it. And it was actually, in my opinion, a better movie than Dracula. We still have iconic scenes that we've seen parodied in all The Simpsons. I mean, just all pop culture has been parodied by that one scene. It's alive! It's alive! We all know that line. We've all heard it somewhere. This is where it came from. And I think that's very interesting. Once again, another monster that changed Halloween forever. And then about 10 years later, in 1941, they gave us The Wolfman. Now, honestly, this movie, I've seen it. It's not as good as Dracula and Frankenstein. It's a good movie, though, but same thing. Because when we were growing up in the 70s and 80s, the first ones we thought of was Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman. Those are the ones we wanted to be. I wanted to be something scary all the time. I was never allowed to do so, which I'm going to get into that here in a little bit. Actually, next topic. But yeah, Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman changed Halloween forever back in the early 30s and 40s. But like I said, I grew up in the early 70s is when I did the Halloween, because I was born in '68, so I missed the 60s. But in the 60s and 70s, these costumes behind me, they were called, there was a company called Ben Cooper, and all they were was a plastic mask and a smock. A smock. And sometimes some of them had legs and most of them didn't. They were just a smock. And when you're a little kid in the 70s, this is what your parents would buy you as a Halloween costume to go out in Halloween, especially if you were little. And the older kids, they would try to make their own, and that was a little bit better, and I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to go something scary. But I didn't get to go something scary because for 3 or 4 years in a row, I had to be Mickey Mouse, of all things. This exact costume behind me. That's not my costume, that's one I found on the internet. But yeah, that is the costume I had to wear year after year. In fact, my parents wouldn't get me a new costume. They were so cheap, and I'm gonna bitch about my parents a little bit. They were so cheap because I was a fat kid. When I got bigger and started filling out, my mom actually took the sleeves. The one I had was the one in the center, and I'm blocking it. Took the sleeves here and put little extensions on it so they would fit. Same with the legs. And they weren't even the same color. They were this ugly green color. So for about 4 years while I was in grade school, this is what I had to wear. I had to wear it to school because back then in grade school, we did a whole Halloween parade. We'd walk around the building. I looked ridiculous. Meanwhile, all my friends had Frankenstein and the Wolfman and Dracula, like I was saying earlier. And this is before Freddy and all those guys, so we didn't have that. But there were better costumes. A popular thing in the 70s was a hobo costume, or a bum, whatever you want to call it. I guess we're supposed to call them a homeless person now. And we can't do that anymore either, but they wouldn't because the kids would make their own costumes. And it was great vampire costumes. Kids would wear their church suit and they'd be made up and have the hair slicked back to be Dracula. It was just the thing to do back then. I wasn't allowed to do any of it. I had to wear this. No wonder kids picked on me all the time. And I know some of the people that watch my videos I actually went to high school with, so now maybe you understand why I was so weird. So for a few years, I had to walk around wearing that costume, going door to door begging for candy and trick-or-treating back then. I know we started when the sun started going down, and up here right now, nowadays in my neighborhood, it's 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock on Halloween night. No matter what, they always stay on Halloween night. Halloween this year, for instance, is on a Tuesday. They're going to do it on Tuesday, which is, I believe that's the way it should be. But I could swear when I was a little kid, we would go out at 6 o'clock was the time to start, but I swear we were out till 9 or 10 collecting candy. We'd grab a pillowcase or plastic bags or whatever and go all the neighborhoods. Like I said, the neighborhood was a lot more friendly back then than it is now. But I swear we were out longer than just 2 hours, because I would have big things of candy and bring it home and spread it all out on the floor, and you had to have your mom and dad inspect it, and they'd inspect everything and steal all the good stuff like the Reese's peanut butter cups and Hershey's. Oh, they did though. They did. They'd go through my candy. My dad would take what he liked. He loved the licorice, the red licorice. And my mom liked the black licorice, which I was fine with that because I hate black licorice to this day. But they would go and they'd pick out what they want, and I'd be left with the rest. And then he'd put it on top of the refrigerator, and I wasn't allowed to have any. I'd get like 2 pieces or something that night, and then it'd be spaced out. I'd have Halloween candy lasting all the way up until Christmas. There would still be Halloween candy left. And I think they did that because I was a fat kid. Or I don't know if I'm allowed to say fat kid. I don't even care anymore. I was a fat kid. There, I said it. And I really wish I had a better attitude back then whenever people made fun of me for being fat. I'd be like, yeah, I'm fat. So what? But, you know, kids pick on each other. But yeah, I swear to God, my Halloween candy would last me till Christmas. I'd still have a bunch left. And even with my mom and dad nibbling off it and stealing it. No, I could never really figure that one out. Another one of my favorite things of Halloween, to this day I might add, is making a jack-o'-lantern. It's always been tradition when I was growing up. We would make the jack-o'-lantern the night before Halloween so it was ready to put out. And I made so many jack-o'-lanterns with my father and mother over the years. I make my own now. In fact, I'm looking forward to making some here with my wife the night before Halloween. We do it every year. And when my kids were little, we used to do it too. They don't live here anymore. They moved out and have their own lives. But I'm actually going to see if they want to come back this year and help me make a couple jack-o'-lanterns. But jack-o'-lanterns was just the thing to do. We put the big candle in it and everything, make 2 or 3 of them. And I had a lot of fun doing that. My mother was always said she was going to take the jack-o'-lantern when we were done. She's going to make pumpkin pie out of it. To this day, she never has. And I don't think she's going to anymore because now she's in a nursing home. But she always said every year she was going to take the pumpkins when we were done. That's why we did it on the night before, so they only sit out for Halloween night, take them in, and she was going to cut them up and make pumpkin pies. She never did. Never, ever, ever. She'd make a hell of a zucchini bread, though, but that's a whole other story. Speaking of jack-o'-lanterns, y'all know where jack-o'-lanterns actually come from? It's an interesting story. It stems back to Ireland, which I am half Irish, and I like to brag about that all the time because I'm German-Irish. Just means I can drink a lot. They originated in Ireland, and they used to be made from turnips, and I'm going to tell you why. This is basically what a turnip jack-o'-lantern looks like. Now, where'd they get the name Jack? They got the name from a man called Stingy Jack. I don't know his full name or his real name. Stingy Jack in Ireland, and he was an old, grumpy blacksmith guy. He was also a heavy drinker. Apparently, he was a shyster. He was a con man. I mean, every bad quality you can think of in a person this guy had. And one day he was traveling somewhere, and the devil looked him up because they found out how bad he was, and goes to kill him and take his soul. It was his time was up. Well, somehow Stingy Jack, they called him Stingy Jack because he was stingy. Somehow Jack conned the devil into making a deal with him to keep him out of hell. And I guess what he did is he trapped the devil 2 times. You can look the story up somewhere else in that. I'm not going to make this a super long video. But he trapped the devil 2 times. And the second time he trapped the devil, the deal was to get out. For the devil to get out, he had to promise Jack he was never going to take him to hell. Ever, ever, ever. So they made that deal, and Jack lived on the rest of his life. Jack finally died. And when he did die, went to the pearly gates, and St. Peter said, "Oh, hell no, you ain't getting in here." Hell no. Sent him back down to hell. He goes back down to, he basically roamed the world. He's roaming the world. Finally got sick of it. He went down to hell to try to get into hell because he wanted to be somewhere. And when he got there, the devil's like, "No, I'm living up to my agreement. You said you don't want to be in hell. You ain't coming in hell. You can roam the earth forever." But here, he grabbed a handful of hellfire coals and gave it to Jack. He said, "Here, you take this. This will light your way through the darkness." So Jack picked up a turnip, and he cut the inside out of the turnip, put the hellfire in there, and carried it like a lantern to get him through the darkness. And to this day, he's supposed to still do that. So legend has it, to this day, Stingy Jack's ghost is still roaming the earth, carrying his lantern. And they started out making the turnip lanterns, and then somehow they evolved into pumpkins and gourds and other things to set on your front porch to keep the darkness away, keep the spirits away from bothering you, especially on All Hallows Eve, which according to Celtic legend, Hallows Eve is also the Celtic. Wow, I just said that. I'm going to leave that in because I leave all my mistakes in. Celtic festival of Samhain. And most people know this as Samhain because the Halloween series, the movie series, called it Samhain in the third movie. It is not Samhain, it's Samhain. That is a Gaelic pronunciation. That's the way it's supposed to be. I wonder if the writers of the Halloween movies made a mistake because they never corrected it, but it's pronounced Samhain, but they called it Samhain. Anyway, and that is the harvest time. That is harvest time. And they used to wear the costumes during the harvest time to ward off evil spirits so they could get their harvest done without any damage done, and it ward off the ghosts and everything like that. And that's just that is the real quick and dirty explanation of it. So that's where your jack-o'-lanterns come from. Now, other things that mean stuff in Halloween is you also think of black and orange. Orange and black, black and orange. Black and orange is a symbolism of the black is the death of summer, and the orange is the beginning of autumn harvest. So that's why those two colors go together, black and orange, that you end up seeing all around Halloween. Like red and green is considered Christmas, and that's a whole other video. Also, another thing you associate with Halloween all the time are bats. Do you know why you associate bats with Halloween? During harvest time, they would make bonfires and do their celebrations. They dress up in the skins and the costumes to chase away the evil spirits. The bonfires they would make would attract bats because it would mess up their sonar in their brains. You know how if you know how bats fly around, they're basically blind. They use a little sonar type technique. It messed them up, so they were kind of attracted to it. They could see a little bit, and they were attracted to the light. So every time they did a bonfire, there would be bats everywhere. And that's why we associate bats with Halloween, or the harvest time. Now, I want to talk about my favorite Halloween movies of my time. Me growing up, the movies I like the best at Halloween. And every Halloween, I will sit there and binge watch them. They're mostly series, so I'm just going to mention the series name. Well, I'm not going to sit here and review every single movie because that would drive you guys insane. But they are movies that I like. Now, these movies are in no particular order about which one's my favorite, which one isn't. Well, they're all my favorites, so there's no bad ones in here. But this has nothing to do with the movies we talked about earlier. The movies we talked about earlier, I do love them as a piece of history, and like I said, they changed Halloween forever, starting in like 1931. So let's go over these movies, and the first one I'm going to bring up is, of course, Michael Myers and the Halloween franchise. I've watched all of them, of course, and most people have. Most people my age definitely have. I have good things to say about some, bad things to say about others. But it's tradition. You gotta watch the Halloween movies when it's Halloween, right? That's my first choice. There's, like I said, no particular order. I can't talk about the Halloween franchise if I don't mention the remake that Rob Zombie did. He did the remake back in 2007. And it's 1 and 2. And it tells the story pretty good. It's a little bit different. And I enjoyed it. So I definitely watch this every Halloween. And then, of course, I'm going to say something about Freddy. The Nightmare on Elm Street franchise was great. Another one they did a remake of, I don't have a picture of. I didn't think they get one. But, yeah, the Freddy movies were just, I mean, they were funny and scary at the same time, especially in the later sequels of it. And it was an enjoyable movie. It's not technically a Halloween movie, I don't think. But I really enjoyed watching it. They started in 1984 was the first one that came out. And then they just kept getting better and funnier ever since then. I mean, he had some great one-liners in that, and just you could tell Robert Englund just enjoyed being Freddy. And so, yeah, I binge watch every Freddy movie during the Halloween season too. All right, I can't talk about Michael Myers and talk about Freddy without talking about Jason too. I mean, all three of them kind of go together. Yep, talk about the Friday the 13th series. They did so many I lost track, and then they rebooted this one too, and that was a good one. That's all I have to say about that. I hate to say it though, there's going to be a spoiler. Oh, there's a spoiler already. The movie Friday the 13th, the killer was not Jason. It was his mom. There was another movie where Jason was not the killer. Can you name that in the comments? There was one Friday the 13th movie that Jason was not the killer. Or I'm sorry, there was two. The first one was his mom. I'll give you that hint. There's another Jason movie, another Friday the 13th movie, that Jason was not the killer. And I'd like to see if you guys know it. Put it in the comments. Speaking of which, give me a like and subscribe right now. If you're still here watching, I must be doing something right. So a like means a lot. It helps the algorithm, helps my channel out. And yeah, I'd just like to hear from you. I do want to mention between 1987 and 1990, there was a TV show called Friday the 13th, the series. And it was a good TV show. It was about these people that are in an antique shop, and they had cursed antiques, and they were selling these cursed antiques. Well, the original owner, the uncle, I think, was selling these cursed antiques to people, and he died. So the relatives came in and inherited the store, and their job was to go and find all these cursed antiques and get them back somehow. And it was a really good story. It was a really good series, but I don't know why they called it the Friday the 13th. I think that was just to like go on the coattails of the Friday the 13th series, but it had nothing to do with Jason Voorhees. And I think they kind of tricked us, but once they tricked us, they had a hot redhead in that show that I had a big crush on back there in 1987. So I watched it and I enjoyed it. So if you ever get a chance, I see a lot of them on YouTube, full episodes. It's called Friday the 13th, the series. And check it out. It's actually pretty cool. The next movie series I always watch on Halloween is the Chucky series, is the Child's Play. And that another one that they made a reboot of, which the reboot was kind of more believable, but it all depends how you look at it. But that the original came out in 1988, and it's, you know, that little doll came to life, Chucky. Hi, I'm Chucky. I'm your friend to the end. Hee hee. You should really think about it. That's really creepy to a toy guy like me. But it wasn't so much scary. It was, it's hard to explain how I felt about that movie. But Halloween, I end up watching it. I know, once again, probably not a Halloween movie, maybe more of a Christmas movie. But I just like the movie. Night of the Living Dead. I can't have a Halloween spectacular special if I don't talk about Night of the Living Dead. That was made in 1968, same year I was born. They did another one they remade, but I do prefer the original best. And it was actually filmed not very far from where I'm living right now, right here in Pennsylvania. I think the cemetery was called Livermore Cemetery. They've changed the names over the past few years just to keep tourists away. But I think it was called Livermore Cemetery. I could be wrong on that. I should have looked it up. But the cemetery is definitely right here near my house. And when I was in my 20s, we actually got chased out of there once. We went in there late at night drinking, and we got chased out by this big SUV. And in our drunk minds, we thought Leatherface was coming out after us, which is a whole other movie. But yeah, Halloween Night of the Living Dead, I have to watch it. I watch it every Halloween Eve before I leave the house. And it's just what you have to do. Here's something interesting about Night of the Living Dead. If you watch it, they never say the word zombie. They never call them zombies. We call them zombies today. They never say zombies. They called them, one or two people called them ghouls. So a little bit of trivia there. They never coined the phrase zombie in that movie. I'd like to know where zombies got their name from. Well, that's a good thing. Leave in the comments too. What was the original movie, or what was the first movie, or the first coinage of the term zombie? I'd like to know. Leave it in the comments. The original Children of the Corn from 1984. This kid freaked me out. I mean, just look at that face and the voice and everything that went with it. That kid freaked me out. I wanted to dress up like that for Halloween, but I was fat and I couldn't. But yeah, the whole character, the way he played it, it was just creepy. It was just creepy. And then, you know, it's a Stephen King story, so they're all going to freak out. And then Malachi, I kind of wanted to beat Malachi's ass myself. I especially do now, and I think I could take him. But yeah, another one that they remade it in 2009. I don't have a background picture for that one. I watched the 2009 version remake. They used basically the same script. It was a little bit different here and there. But the lead character and the girl, who his name, I knew the name, now the name's evading me. I didn't like the female lead. I didn't like her at all. I thought she was just over the top being a bitch. Just saying. And the first one, the girl was normal. She was normal. And actually, that's the girl from Terminator, so, that's someone you should be scared of. But, the remake, I didn't like her. She was just screaming. She was just mean all the time. I mean, if I was her husband, I'd probably kill her myself. I can't say that word on YouTube. I didn't like the remake. The original, yeah. And there's so many other movies they made about Children of the Corn. It's a whole series, like I said. So, if you're into that stuff, watch the very, very first one, the 1984 version. And, see what you think. All right, now we're coming closer to today's time. Nightmare Before Christmas. I really like that movie. It's not scary. 1993, I think it came out in. It's not scary. I don't think it's supposed to be. It's Tim Burton. A lot of the animation and stuff. There's some CGI, some stop motion animation. I can appreciate all that. The story was really good. I like a lot of the voice actors that were in it. Every Halloween, I will be watching this. I especially love the music score. If you know me by now, you know I'm a music guy. I love the music score to this movie. So, I'm sure you've seen it by now. I mean, I don't know anybody that hasn't. If you haven't, then come out of your cave, steal cable, I don't know, come steal my Wi-Fi, you can watch it, I don't care. But check it out whenever you can. And of course, it wouldn't be Halloween without watching Hocus Pocus. The Sanderson sisters. They are such a popular Halloween costume nowadays. And you see it's a crappy picture behind me. This is from the original, I believe. But this is back when Sarah Jessica Parker was hot. And this is the only time I've ever seen her look hot, was in that movie. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't like Sarah Jessica Parker. Speaking of the music from that film, I wanted to do my favorite Halloween music too, but I cut the list down way down because I realized how long this video is going to be and you probably don't care. Plus, I don't have background pictures. Halloween always has certain sets of music, and Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare Before Christmas is it's up there on that list too. The whole score is good. You play it in the background, along with the Halloween soundtrack. That's the Michael Myers theme goes through everybody's head. You're gonna go back. People my age, we grew up with the Monster Mash. We used to wait around Halloween time, wait for the radio DJ to play it because we didn't have the internet and stuff like that. But when we heard it, we all knew that creaking sound of the coffin open up when the song's gonna go to start. Hiccups. And then as far as the classical music goes, that pipe organ song that I did a video the other day messing with it, Toccata and Fugue. That's like the creepiest pipe organ song ever written, and it definitely goes with Halloween. And I'm going to stop there because I can go on and on and on about music when I have a couple other things I'd love to talk about. I think you're going to find this next part funny. Now, like I said before, from my research, Halloween basically come from Celtic Ireland. And then they went to England and went to the Catholic Church, and they have adopted a lot of the thoughts and stuff like that. A lot of people think it's the Druids worshiping the devil or the pagans worshiping the devil. In my education, it's not. But people are going to still sit there and argue with me, and I'm not arguing. I'm just saying what I've learned. But since it came to America and all these mixed religions, mixed people, a lot of countries have adopted Halloween over the past 50-some years, just the past 50-some years. I mean, they do it in Japan now, and other European countries have adopted it mostly because it's fun. It's fun. It's fun to dress up like an idiot and go out and do dumb stuff. It's just fun. But some of the American traditions from Halloween that aren't over in Ireland or the other European countries are the haunted hay rides, the haunted houses too, for that matter. They don't do that, and if they do it, they definitely don't associate it with Halloween. Over here we got our hay rides. Corn mazes, another thing. They don't do that over in other countries. We're the only ones that do the corn maze, to the best of my knowledge. And the dumbest one, pet costumes. Pretty sure we're the only ones dressing up our dogs and cats like idiots for Halloween with us. I am one of those guys. If you see my Daisy video I did a whole video just for my dog. I didn't put any costumes on it because it wasn't close enough to Halloween, but I am the guy that if I get a funny costume, I'll put it on my dog because it's funny. It doesn't hurt the dog any. She seems to like it. So, yeah, and I'm gonna, and that's another thing I'd like to know, because that's the only 3 I could come up with, but I'm sure there's more. If you know of more, throw them in the comments. I want to read it. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video before the 31st comes, because right now it's what is today? Today is the 17th. So, yeah, I'm hoping to have this posted by Friday. the 20th, I hope. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of editing because I keep stopping and starting. So, yeah, those are American inventions. Now, back to the funny stuff. I always try to say what I think is the funniest for the end. Trick or treat. What does that mean? It means you go, little kid knocks on your door, don't. Trick or treat. So you give them a treat so they don't give you a trick. That's what it means. What if you don't give a little bastard a treat? Oh, did I say that? So if you get, isn't that an actual legal contract? A legal contract. If your porch light's on and you have Halloween decorations out, little kid comes to your door, knocks on the door with the porch light on, because that's what we use here. If the porch light's on, that means you can go to that house. If the porch light's off, it means they're either out of candy or they're not participating, which, that's another thing. Over the years, people were slowing down on their participation. I guess they figure once they're, I guess it's an older community. A lot of people are older than I am. But still do it. I mean, you had kids once. I had kids. I used to drag them over the neighborhood. They do their trick-or-treating. So I kind of owe it to the rest of the neighborhood to pay back that candy. Just the way I think. But anyway, the way it is in my neighborhood, if the porch light's on, you can go up to their door between the hours that are set, which is, like I said earlier, 6 to 8 on Halloween night. So little kid, lights on. That's the contract right there. That means you accept the contract. Kid comes up, knocks on the door, says trick-or-treat. He gets no candy. I would think, and I'm no lawyer, I'm just speculating, but wouldn't it be funny if this actually made it to court? The little kid doesn't get any treats. Doesn't that give him the right to pull a trick? Think about it. Just saying, just throwing it out there. But anyway, some of the tricks we used to do when we were kids, and I'm sure most of them are illegal now. These are pranks. If you don't get your treat, you're allowed to trick them. But let's face it, we used to run around when we were teenagers and do it anyway. TP houses, toilet paper, turd tickets. You watch my last video, I did a whole thing about funny ways to say toilet paper. It was funny in my mind when I did it, but I have a medical marijuana card, and a lot of things are funny that aren't. Anyway, seriously though, we would wrap someone's house in toilet paper. We'd chuck it up into the wet trees and fall back down, throw it up again. We'd decorate the trees and everything like that, and they wake up next morning, all this white shit hanging down from the trees. It was annoying as hell, because when I grew up, someone did it to us, and I'm like, oh, this really does suck. But it's still funny, and it's harmless. It's just a pain in the ass to clean up. Now, out here in Pennsylvania, when I grew up, we called this, what I'm about to explain to you, corning. And that's whenever you go to go in the cornfield, stay away from he who walks behind the rows, and we would steal corn. Take it all off the cob with the hard deer feed, the feed corn, the hard stuff, not the soft stuff that you eat on a table, the hard stuff. And we would walk around a neighborhood, and we'd hide, and then we'd run up, we'd throw a whole handful of the corn at somebody's house. And, at the windows, this thing, all over the house. The thing about why it was so fun back then, growing up in the 70s, a lot of the houses had aluminum siding. Not vinyl siding, which you see common today, aluminum siding. That made such a loud racket. Whoever was inside just would jump about 2 feet in the air. And of course, we'd run like hell after we did it, and then we'd wait around and see if anybody came out. Sometimes people did. You always had that one neighbor that come out. I'm slowly turning into that guy, just so you know. But it was funny, and we called it corning. Now, some people call it tic-tacking. Those are the only two terms I know about that. But it was funny, and it was harmless. I'm sure you get corn in your yard. Big deal. Birds come eat it, and then, well, that's actually not good either. You take a broom the next day. All right, happy Halloween, you son of a bitches. It's just funny. Ring the doorbell and run. We've done that plenty of times, too. You'd run up, ring a doorbell, run like hell. Still didn't cause any harm. Used to annoy a lot of people. Actually, I went to the extreme one time with me and my friend that I grew up with. His name was Sean, and he's probably going to see this. I had it was actually, because I remember what it was actually an aquarium stone that I was able to tie fishing line around. So I tied fishing line around this aquarium stone, and then I tied another line up to the guy's door, right across the street, and then we'd run across the street, and then we'd pull the line, the stone would come out, then we'd let it go, and it would knock on the door. So boom, 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 on an aluminum door. Made a hell of a loud noise. Guy comes, he opens, doesn't open the aluminum door, just opens the door behind it, looking around. shut the door, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. Oh yeah. Anybody ever light a bag of shit on fire on somebody's doorstep? I have. Trust me, the guy deserved it. And then you ring the door and run like hell. I'm sure you've seen that in movies before, but I actually did it. We had some neighbors that deserved it, so yeah, I did it when I was a young kid. And here's something nobody ever does anymore. It is kind of a giant pain in the ass, but it was always harmless. You ever soap somebody's windows? That's when you take a bar of soap, dial soap, whatever. You wet it down a little bit, you just go all over their windows or all over their car windows. Doesn't cause any damage. It's just really aggravating to clean up. That's the kind of shit we did when we were kids. We didn't do harm. You know, I mean, hell, except for the time we blew up mailboxes, but I really got a ass beating for that. So those are the pranks we did to the people that didn't give us a treat, trick or treat. Then when I got older, because I'm a sadistic bastard, we used to prank the Halloweeners themselves because, you know, like I said, I found toilet paper in my tree a couple times. I knew who it was. So first, and the easiest one is like my wife would hand out the candy and I would dress up in a scary costume or something, hide around the corner, and I'd jump out and scare the hell out of the older kids. Never did it to the little kids. I don't have the heart to do it, but I'd scare the older kids. And I have no problem with older kids trick-or-treating. I mean, at least they're like a lot of people, especially in this area, they're like, oh, you're too old to be trick-or-treating. No, dude, I would go trick-or-treating today if I thought it was acceptable. It's just something fun to do, and it keeps these kids out of trouble. So if you're getting older kids at your doorstep, trick-or-treating, you know, and I'm talking like 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, give them some damn candy. Let them have their memories. Just let them have it, because it's Halloween. You know, they're too young to go to parties. You know, just let them have it. So, but we would still prank them once in a while. There was a point we were running really low on candy when I lived in Greensburg, and but I did have a box of prunes, so I dumped these prunes in with the candy. And anytime a kid was a little older, I'd throw a prune in their bag instead of a piece of candy. And of course, they heard a plop, they're happy, they keep going. And that was just I was running out of candy. I wanted to make sure the little ones had enough candy, so I was kind of being a jerk there, but it could have been worse, because I'm going to tell you about something worse. We get kids coming up, and they all have plastic bags or pumpkins or whatever they're carrying their candy in. And I had a rule that I made between me and my wife, and she used to yell at me all the time, my ex-wife. Maybe this is why she's my ex-wife. If they had a paper bag, because sometimes they would just have a stupid paper bag. It's no effort into that. And not to mention shitty costumes, but that's a whole other thing, because I don't pick on people for shitty costumes, because I told you the Mickey Mouse story when I was younger. I had to wear that for a couple of years. You know, it's not the kids' fault. If they had a paper bag, they got a couple ice cubes. Plop, plop, plop. They hear it. They think they got like 3 pieces of candy. They walk away. And my hope was maybe, 10, 15 minutes later, and the bottom would fall out of their bag, and there goes all the freaking candy. I don't know if it ever followed up, though. I don't know if it ever actually worked. But in my mind, it was funny. Okay. I'm going to take a real quick break. So, originally, I was going to make this whole thing about a bunch of my Halloween costumes from the past. And believe me, I have enough pictures and stuff to talk about that this long. I decided not to do that. I wanted to make it interesting. So I gave you a little bit of history of Halloween and, stuff I grew up with. And I hope you're enjoying yourself. But now I do want to show off a little bit. I want to show some of my favorite Halloween costumes that I've worn over the years. Not all of them, trust me. Just a couple of them. I'm going to show you the best and the worst. And I'm going to leave all the other ones out. So this is just an average costume I wore a long time ago when I was DJing one of my Halloween parties. That's me as Burger King. I found the mask when they were selling it back then, and I couldn't resist. So I threw a bathrobe over top a set of long johns and wore a set of shiny boxers underneath, and that was my costume. It was really stupid, but it was just a lot of fun, and that's what you get. And you see standing right in front of me is my wife. She was one of the circus guys, the circus people, the half man, half female, which and then there's some other friends in there too. Hey, look at me, I'm having fun, I'm hanging around with hot chicks. Who could ask for anything more? And here's my wife and I. This was in, I want to say 2019, right before COVID, because honestly, we both got sick that November. We got really sick. We didn't know why, but we're not going to talk about that. Anyway, yeah, I was a really, really bad Chucky, and she was a really good Tiffany. In fact, I think she won the costume contest. We didn't win the couple's costume because I looked dumb. I did have the Chucky mask, though. It was not a comfortable mask to wear. But yeah, there's Chucky and Tiffany. This was a fun one. It was quite a few years ago. I want to say it was like 8 years ago. And I had a lot of fun dressing up as Gene Simmons. As you can see, I have lost quite a bit of weight from then. I was a fat Gene Simmons, but I had so much fun. And I actually learned how to blow fireballs. And I would go outside. We'd do shows. I'd sing a Kiss song, go outside and blow fireballs. I had a lot of fun that year. This is just another shot of me as Gene Simmons, because I did have friends that year. You see my wife on this end over here, as you're looking at me on your left, and then two very good friends on the right. We had 3 of the 4 Kiss people, and that was a lot of fun that year too. We did win. My wife and I did dress up like that. We went to another bar. We did win a costume contest as best couple that night, and I took best costume, because when I wore that costume, I was actually about 6 inches taller than I am now, and I'm 6'2". It was just a really good costume. This was one year I just decided to go out last minute, and I had other costumes, but I didn't really have time to put one on, so I threw together a Cousin Eddie costume, and it was just a fun thing to do. Not my best costume ever, but I did walk around acting like Cousin Eddie, and because I can act a little bit, and once I get into character, it's pretty fun. So yeah, Cousin Eddie. There's a program based on DC Comics on HBO right now. It's called Doom Patrol, and there's a few seasons out there. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend you watch it. This is me on the right. I went as Cliff, also known as Robot Man. I made that costume myself from the ground up. I won second in the best costume, and my friend Dustin next to me there, he went as the, what's that character called? Not the Invisible Man. I mean, he's full of radiation. It's evading me right now. We actually won Best Couple, which we all thought was hysterical because we were the only couple there, but it was a lot of fun. And if you know Doom Patrol, you recognize the character. Captain Spaulding from House of a Thousand Corpses. This has been a standby guy for me for a few years now. I like wearing the makeup. I do a good impression. Not gonna do it now, but it's just, and Sid Haig was a hell of an actor, and I love dressing up as Captain Spaulding. My stepson, I wish I had a picture of him, actually looks like him, and it looks like Captain Spaulding without the makeup. And I wish I had a picture to show you up there. But yeah, Captain Spaulding was always one of my favorite guys to do. Not a very hard costume to do. You see, it's just makeup, trim the beard a little bit, shave the head in the right places, and you're good to go. And I definitely saved my best costume for last. Yes, we're almost done. This is me and a friend of mine as Gomez and Morticia Addams. And we did it just for the heck of it, and every place we went, we won 4 or 5 costume contests, just best couple, and it was just a lot of fun. It's a few years back. Yeah, when she wasn't around, they thought I was the guy from Blue Bloods, Tom Selleck. And I'm like, I don't look like Tom Selleck in any way, shape, or form. I look like Sling Blade, as you guys know. But this year was a great year. I love the Addams Family. In fact, I drove my wife crazy because that whole month, not only was I working on my costume and how I was going to do my makeup, I was working on my mannerisms and my John Astin voice, because that's what I grew up with, was John Astin. And we both worked on performing a little bit just because this is what I do. It's fun. But that was probably one of my best costumes. There's plenty more, but I just picked my favorites to put on this because the video is a little lengthy. I'm surprised you're still here. In fact, I'm glad you're still here. How cool is that? So that's the end of my Halloween special. I actually put some time into it this time. Hopefully you got informed of some stuff, got to get to know me a little bit better. Any comments, please? I'd love to see them. This is going to be up before Halloween, so maybe I can make a follow-up video before Halloween and answer your questions or retaliate and debate things. I'm always up for that. But anyway, thanks for tuning in to my channel. I appreciate each and every one of you. I've been doing a lot of resin work lately, as you've seen from my previous videos, but I got to take a break for Halloween. I love Halloween, and I'm getting ready this weekend. In fact, on the 21st my wife is actually going to DJ at one of the clubs around here on her birthday, which is the 21st, and it's the Halloween party. So I'm going to unveil a new costume this year. I can't say what it is yet, but maybe I'll do a follow-up video just to show you what I am this year. It's a very complicated costume. I put a lot of time and effort into it, and we'll see what happens. I'm just looking forward to hanging out with my friends, being weird, and that's it. So hey, have a safe Halloween, and be careful, all that stuff. Take care of the little ones, be good to them. Don't be the guy that gives out apples or toothbrushes or toothpaste or freaking McDonald's coupons. No, you go get those full-size Snickers bars and get those Reese's peanut butter cups, because you get the Reese's peanut butter cups, I'm coming to your house. Or beer, if you want to give out beers, give me a call, I'll be there. Happy Halloween, guys.